Hello and welcome to another episode of the Made in Carroll Show. My name is Jason Stambaugh, and joining me today is a very special co-host, my good friend and colleague, Mr. Mike McMullin. How's it going today, sir?
Very good, sir. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's
great.
As per usual in the season, we've been recording early, and so I've been drinking beer early. So I'm kind of
saying we're getting ready to go off and drink some beer, so I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, we're gonna do that today. But I want to. You're not a normal face on.
I'm abnormal.
You're abnormal on the Made in Carroll Show. Now I have been on your show a bunch. You host Carroll County's #1 business radio show, the Chamber Chat.
And we know why it's the #1 show, because it's the only show, so it's first and last.
Well, I'm happy to have you on my show, and we're also happy to have the Chamber as our season sponsor. For those who have been tuning in and watching our episodes so far, the Chamber's all over the show, and we're very happy to have you guys support this season. And we're also happy to have you today as we continue our journey, as we meet the entrepreneurs and families behind Carroll's Craft Wine, Beer, and Spirits Boom. But we picked a special episode for you. Unlike the other makers...
I'm excited about this.
Unlike the other makers that we've had on the show this season, this one, these guys, they're not yet in business yet. The Chamber, you guys have been supporting businesses since 1924 here in this community. But really, since you came on board at the Chamber's not just been supporting existing business. You guys have been supporting entrepreneurs and startup businesses through a variety of events and programs, and so we thought this would be a great episode for you.
Great, just like the Carroll Biz Challenge.
That's right. Now, what
you helped to introduce that?
I may
over
have.
several pints of Guinness at O'Lorda's.
That's right.
And we decided to do it. We're in our 7th year for this year. We're taking applications now for this next year, but the Chamber does like to support business, and not just established, but entrepreneurs. Because when you look at every business that we have here in Carroll, like let's just say, how about like Tevis Oil? I mean, at one point they were an entrepreneur starting up. And let's hope that the place we're going today will get as large as maybe Budweiser or something right here in Carroll County.
We'd love it. Well, let's go meet the gents behind Brewery Fire. Let's go.
Sounds awesome, man.
Hello?
Hey guys, come on.
Hello.
Hey,
Dave.
what's going on? Jason, good to see you.
Dave.
Hey,
I'm Mike.
Hey Mike, how are you?
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Good to have you guys here.
Thanks for welcoming us in today and giving us kind of a look behind the scenes. But I know that unlike other episodes we've done so far in the season, you guys are at a bit of a different phase in development, sort of our pre-commercial maker of beer, wine, or spirits. But we're really excited to find out what do you guys got going on here in this small space here.
Yeah, sure. So we've got our 1-barrel pilot system. So this is what we're working with right now. We produce 1 barrel or 30 US gallons at a time. Then we've got sort of our sampling setup. We've got five taps. We've got beers for samples later on today. And,
I need a room like this in my house.
Oh yeah. Everyone should have at least one room like this. I wouldn't mind upgrading to 2 rooms like this.
This is good. This is good.
So yeah, this is just kind of where we're at right now. Obviously, without being open in a facility yet. So this is kind of where the magic happens.
So this looks like a modified freezer. So tell me about the handiwork here.
It's just a roughly assembled. In the community, they call them keezers. So it's a chest freezer turned into a kegerator. It's got a temperature controller on it. So we use it for for serving draft temperature beer. But the temperature controller, you can actually make it warm enough to do lagering. So you can ferment your lagers in that as well.
Yeah. Very cool. So you had to be like an engineering background, Tyler?
Just really good at Google.
Yeah, really good at
Google and YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much.
That works.
So the setup here obviously is like a layer above like your 5-gallon bucket home.
Yeah.
But kind of, what was the evolution? Like, how did you get to this point?
Sheesh, man, it's a long story.
Yeah.
I guess I started a little bit before you.
Yeah.
I'm at about 10 years of brewing. We've been doing Brewery Fire together for about a year, so roughly 9 years as a home brewer. I kind of went off the deep end when I started, and instead of doing the 5-gallon buckets, I went a little crazier, got all grain, didn't follow anyone else's recipes, just wanted to learn the hardest way possible. So that way I knew what I knew instead of just guessing. So yeah, I went from that. Did that for about 8 years, then about a year ago upgraded to this system here in the hopes of one day taking the hobby and turning it into something more.
Yeah.
So what was there that took this from a hobby and obviously a passion, which all entrepreneurs need to have, into what you're doing now, a business?
I think it was, opportune timing. Finding a partner that wanted to do what I wanted to do and had the same passion and skill and drive and creativity. So once I had someone I could rely on to, take this to the next level, and it was actually his idea, not mine. Last January, he just texted me out of the blue saying, "I want to start a brewery."
That's awesome.
Hey,
Budweiser may have started the same way. You never know.
You never know. So how did you two meet?
Through, I guess.
Maybe my brother-in-law.
Yeah, because I used to play World of Warcraft, and his brother-in-law.
Sorry about that.
Oh my gosh, we're good. We're good. That's for the whipping stuff. We're hanging out back.
We'll have to go back to that question again.
The beatings will continue.
Sorry, part of the outtakes.
But so
that was an outtake.
I knew his wife before I knew him, and then we met one day I think at church, and
yeah, probably, and just listen to the same music. Both huge fans of beer, both homebrewers at that point, and. It's one thing led to another, and we brewed a bunch together over the last few years, and
so kind of a burgeoning business partnership here, and obviously I know that you have dreams to move outside of your home here into a space. So where are you guys looking at moving? What's the timeline? Talk about sort of where you are in the business.
Sure. Well, we've been working with a company in Carroll County called Startup Portal. And they've helped us get the nuts and bolts of our business plan together, turn the stuff that we don't know about, like the finances and help with market research and stuff like that. So they've helped us turn that into a business plan that we just wrapped up. Was it Thursday?
Yeah.
So we just finished that. We've been doing other stuff at the same time, working with the Brewers Association of Maryland, doing events, doing outreach, meeting other both county breweries as well as Maryland state breweries, and just getting a real feel for the industry. So the plan is once we get past the holidays and into January, we'll have our business plan, our financials finalized, and work on securing our financing and go from there into real estate hunt. We're looking exclusively in Carroll County. It's a very underserved market for beer right now. There's, compared to our neighboring counties, we've got 3 right now, which I think Howard County's got at least 8, and Frederick's got maybe 10. I mean, there's a lot nearby, and Carroll County's a bit underserved. So we'd like to, hit parts of the county that don't have anyone yet. So our primary focus right now is the Sykesville area. If we can get in there, that's awesome.
It's a great little town.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
A lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, Patapsco Distillery opened up there earlier in 2016. And, Scott, he's a great guy. He does, really good work there. So being near a distillery is pretty appealing, which segues perfectly into also looking at Mount Airy because of miscellaneous. So being able to be near either one of those guys would be, I think, a really nice quasi-partnership, like, the rising tide lifting all ships.
Nice chemistry to have you guys, right?
Absolutely. A lot of potential collaboration you could do with barrel aging beers in their barrels and kind of get a unique thing you wouldn't get anywhere else. So
and I think that vibe fits perfectly. We're in the season we're meeting Scott and Dan and Meg over miscellaneous, and so I think that's that type of thing is right up their alley. Both of them are using tons of Carroll County grains and their stuff, and so I think miscellaneous has one that their rye, I believe, is like 100% Carroll County.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's Newmarket. I think was where their rye was from.
Or New Windsor.
New Windsor, not Newmarket. Right? Yeah, New Windsor. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're talking about Frederick County.
Shame on that side.
Stupid Frederick County.
So those are the 2 primary towns we're looking at, but obviously Westminster, even though we've already got Johansson's and Pub Dog here, I mean, those guys have been really welcoming so far.
Very cool.
And three might be a crowd some places, but with craft brewing, that really doesn't seem to be the case. It's much more of a collaborative industry than a lot of those.
And we are going to taste this at some point because I'm getting really thirsty. The only show that I've done with you, but we do get to the fun part, right?
The fun part's coming.
Not that this isn't fun learning about you guys.
I'd rather drink my beer than talk to you. I've met me.
Yeah, so the other piece of gear here, sort of shifting gears, and a final note about your space. Of course, I'm going to be jockeying for Westminster, because that's where I live, and I'd be closer to enjoying it. But for folks in Sykesville, Mount Airy, I'm excited as
Carroll County Chamber cares about all of Carroll, so Sykesville, Mount Airy, we love them all. So.
But you do have something interesting over here by the computers, and of course a wonderful array of games up here.
Oh yeah, we're unashamed nerds.
Yeah, King of Tokyo is
yeah.
one of the latest ones we've played. But so talk about these beakers here. Like this is, I think,
like a mad chemist.
Yeah, a little bit of science going on here. A little magnetic stir.
Oh yeah,
like, what do you do over here? Like,
so
what's the jam over here?
Commercially, you're able to get yeast in very small quantities. So this is kind of a yeast lab where you get the Erlenmeyer flasks, and you get your yeast and some malt, and you just kind of let it multiply, and the spinning magnet kind of helps keep the motion going, keeps the yeast happy and energized, so that when you're ready on your brew day to pitch your yeast into your unfermented wort, it's healthy, it's well fed, and it wants to get to work and turn sugar into alcohol. Our favorite thing in the universe. So.
Very cool. Well, I'm anxious to try some of these beers. Let's.
I've been anxious since before we knocked on the door.
Let's hit the taps.
Absolutely.
This episode is sponsored by All Smiles Care. Dr. Gary M. has more than 30 years dental experience. With extensive training and a unique personal touch, All Smiles Care has won awards as the best in Carroll for its excellent dental services. From family dentistry and orthodontics to sedation and implants, All Smiles Care has a broad array of dental care for you and your family. Located on Route 140, All Smiles Care is made in Carroll for all of you and your family's dental needs. You can learn more about All Smiles Care online at www.allsmilescare.com. This season of the Made in Carroll show is sponsored by the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has promoted a sound economic environment for the local business community since 1924. By building relationships and forging personal connections, the Chamber creates a stronger business community. This past year, the Chamber hosted events like the Carroll County Public Safety Awards, the Outstanding Teacher Awards, the Small Business Awards, the Carroll Viz Challenge, and the Drug Expo. The Carroll County Chamber of Commerce exists to showcase what's truly made in Carroll. You can learn more about the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce by visiting them online at www.carrollcountychamber.org.
Well, all right, guys.
Here we go.
Yeah, let's. What's on tap first? Tell us about the first beer we're gonna try.
So this beer is our flagship beer. It's called the Executor IPA. We lovingly named it after Darth Vader's flagship in Super Star Destroyer. So
okay,
that's the Star Wars shirt.
Yeah. So I may have mentioned we're nerds. So this is actually the first collaborative recipe that Jesse and I did. We kind of came together with a bunch of recipes he developed when he was a home brewer, I developed when I was a home brewer. But this is the first one where we put our noggins together and tried to come up with something that was, ours, not mine, not his, but something that we could, drive the business forward with, that neither one of us could say, oh, our flagship's my beer. We wanted it to be a really shared process as equal partners in the business. So this is the Executor IPA. It's an American IPA, and
it's a single hop IPA. It's made with a Simcoe hop, so it's very citrusy, kind of piney, juicy. It's really good.
It's a pretty looking beer.
Yeah.
That's a beaut.
Pass it down to Mr. Stambaugh.
All right.
Mr. Mike.
So for an IPA standpoint, to help people maybe get in the flavor profile or zone, like what type of maybe commercially made IPA do you think this is sort of in the ballpark of or zone of? Or?
Thank you, sir.
I mean, maybe Two Hearted Ale would be the closest thing that comes to mind. I mean, they do a single hop IPA. It's a very similar color, very similar alcohol content, pretty similar malt flavors too. But since they go Centennial and we go Simcoe, we get a little more earthiness, I think, from the hops than they do. Theirs is a little more citrusy.
Okay.
That's probably it's the first one that comes to mind for me anyway. I don't know. Ours is, it's different. Like every, all ingredients.
It's very well balanced.
Are we drinking alone?
Yeah.
Oh, we are always happy to join you.
Come on.
Yeah.
Then we can toast to you guys.
Yeah.
I think I gave our fourth prepared glass to your business partner who's in the other room, so I'll grab another one real quick.
Yeah, we can do a toast.
Yeah.
That'll look good.
Oh, it's alright. Let me just.
And a lot of people that don't like IPAs, we found really do like this one because it's not like it's not super bitter. It's pretty smooth. It's very well balanced.
My wife loves IPAs. What does IPA stand for again?
Indian Pale Ale.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got its roots in British imperialism. They would send it over to India because the alcohol content and hop content worked as natural preservatives, so the beer wouldn't spoil on the voyage.
So, on behalf of all of us in Carroll, and especially Jason and I, we wish you guys all the success in the world.
Thank you.
Cheers, Mike. Thank you. Bottoms up.
Cheers. It's really tasty.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge IPA fan, but I really like this.
You know what's kind of funny is that I have found, tasting in other places that when you're doing, sort of a focused tasting rather than like out with friends, it's like I'm more tuned in to the flavors, and typically like I find IPAs really, really harsh, but I found a few who tried for the season that, this one isn't as, it brings you up, but it has a nice balance, sort of finish it in, a little bit of sweetness. I'm picking up. I don't know anything about beer, but I'm just.
It tastes good. It tastes good.
That's your.
You use the key term in our brewing philosophy is balance.
Mm-hmm.
We aim to make a beer that's lovingly crafted, but we want it to be something that's not gonna scare people away. Like everything we build together, we try to make a really good balance of malt sweetness, hop bitterness. Like we want it to be something you want to sit down and have more than one of.
Yep.
We don't want to scare people away and they go, oh, I don't like hops, that's too bitter. Well, all right, well, our IPA won't scare you away. Some of our seasonals might, but at least our flagship should be pretty accessible.
Yeah. So, what's the alcohol content in this one?
7 3/4.
Pretty good.
So it's a big one, but not a monster. So
Yeah.
it's like 12%.
Yeah, it's right in the right in the vein of some other Maryland IPAs. Like you look at like Loose Cannon's right around there, a few of the others. So it's a good spot to be for an IPA. I think.
Stupid question, but I'm not really into brewing beer and stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it. How long does it take when you start the actual process to the point where we can then drink it?
Sure. A brew day, start to finish, is about 6 hours. From pouring your first drop of water to ending with wort that you're ready to ferment. There's a few steps along the way. You do a mash and a lauter where you get your grains and they soak in hot water, extracting the sugars and proteins. Then you take that liquid, you boil it, you add your hops, you chill it down to for ales right around high 60 degrees, maybe 70 degrees. Then you add your yeast. Then, depending on the beer, anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks till it's ready to keg, and then another week or so to carbonate, and you're in business.
You're good to go.
So I guess the short version answer is 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And once it's done, unlike wine that sometimes and like whiskey and rum where they want to age it for a while, beer is best having it pretty soon after it's finished, right?
An IPA.
That's a yes, but.
Yeah. Like this one, like IPAs, you want to drink right away.
Okay.
Like this one, we dry hop, so it's very aromatic.
Yeah.
And the aromatics will dissipate over time. So like if you get like a really nice beer from like California, like a good IPA, they'll say like drink by this date because you'll lose some of the aromatics and the experience of it all.
But our barley wine, we typically age that about 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Same with the saison. So we there's a few beers that we age. Yeah. It is very determined by style.
Okay.
And alcohol content and stuff like that, because as a natural preservative, higher alcohol beers lend itself to aging more than the lower ones.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the next beer.
Yeah.
So the next one up is called the Chandryan. It's our black rye IPA.
What's that again?
Chandryan. It's
Chandryan. Okay.
It's a play on words from a fantasy novel. So the villains.
I'm picking up.
You guys are nerds.
I gotta.
You might.
We have. Let's before we pour that beer. We gotta take a detour here.
Sure.
We got that up there. So what is Lorathandar?
Lorathandar. So
okay.
This is all my nerd cards on the table.
Okay.
Buddies of mine and I have been building our own sort of competitor system to Dungeons and Dragons called Brilliance and Shadow, and that is the world map that I made for our system. Cool. So we've been doing that for, gosh, Aaron will kill me if I don't remember the exact number, at least 10 years. That we've been working on this.
It's got a Lord of the Rings feel to it.
It definitely has that sort
of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's got a bit of all of that stuff, but it's sort of our own vibe. We we were all that my group of friends and I go way back. I mean, playing Dungeons and Dragons together in middle school, Magic the Gathering, that sort of stuff. So we decided we wanted to make something that was a little more in depth with the storytelling. So we were like, well, the systems that are out there don't accommodate that, so let's just build our own. We've been doing that as a pretty serious hobby, quasi business for a while now, and we've made a lot of progress. I don't know, if or when it's going to hit the markets. It might always just be our own private thing, or maybe
cool.
maybe in a couple
Maybe
years.
you could find a way to link your beer in with that. Maybe there's a place where they brew the beer.
That's what the orcs. I don't know, whatever imaginary creature, the warlocks.
Sure.
Right.
No, we've actually done. Some no, you're actually hitting the nail on the head. We've already done some, or I've done some.
You give us a few more beers, we're going to help you figure this thing out. We get really creative.
New Middle Earth people.
Absolutely. So the Chandryan.
So that's Chandryan.
Because it's a rye. Chandryan. So the villains in a fantasy series called the Kingkiller Chronicles are the Chandrian.
Okay.
So this is a play on words off of that. We actually got a lot of love at the Baltimore Craft Brew Festival from our fellow nerds who were like, "Is that from Kingkiller?" So
instantly recognized.
Like the handful of people that caught the reference loved us.
Well, I can't wait to try it. I mean,
so this is
be a magical experience. I'm betting.
So it's a black rye IPA, and it's another single hop beer, and this is with Centennial, but the rye and the roasted malts bring out a nice, really complex, earthy flavor to the beer, and it's kind of hard to explain. I usually describe it as like a glass of autumn. Like it just tastes like fall to me.
You got me interested.
So,
You've got me interested. Let's see it.
Let's do it. I like the color.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah.
You don't think that when you hear it's an IPA.
Yeah, so it's sort of a hybrid style that's developed in the last maybe 6-7 years. So it it relies heavily on the hop characteristics of an IPA, but its malt profile is much closer to like an imperial stout.
Yep.
That's the flavors kind of blend together.
It's definitely black.
It's got a Guinness look to it.
Oh yeah, this has black patent malt as well as chocolate malt, so that's where you're getting those really deep flavor or deep colors. And then it relies on a really substantial addition of crystal malts to give it some sweetness to balance out the bitterness. So, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
This is one of our beer snub beers.
Oh yeah, this is our love it or hate it beer.
Wow.
I like it.
Great.
It's like I'm still tasting it. It's
Yeah.
like a solid 5 seconds since I swallow. I feel like it's 5 seconds. Maybe it's 3. I have no idea. But it's like a lot of complexity.
Yeah,
So I can see why you say beer snob.
Just like the last beer, again, I don't really like hops, but this is a really good beer. It's not overly hoppy. It's got a nice taste to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That malt, the malt, like a malty finish is like, I'm loving that.
Yeah, that's the rye you're getting. It
Yeah.
gives a really unique finish, and with the sweetness that's coming out of those crystal malts. Again, we're striving for that balance that we talked about with the last beer. We just love having, even in our complex beers, we still look for a balance that's not going to scare people away.
Now, what's the alcohol in this one?
8.
8. Yeah, I'll say these are all.
We're working our way up.
Monsters.
By the next beer, we'll be like, this is the greatest beer.
The next beer will be gentle. We're going to go to our milk stout next.
It's going to cuddle us next, though. But like Monster Brewery Fire. Like these are big beers.
This is great.
Tasty.
Great. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. I mean, that's those are the those reactions are half the reason we do this. We want people to enjoy our beer. We love it.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you end up bottling or kegging, what do you envision as so assuming your business plan works, meaning that you get your funding and you get set up in a space wherever it is, hopefully Westminster. What are you gonna bottle in? Are you gonna do bottles? You gonna do kegs? You gonna do growlers? Or what's the plan there?
The big plan is that we're gonna have a tasting where people can come in, buy everything by the glass, but then we're gonna have a crowler system.
Okay.
Where you can come in after you have a few beers, you can buy a crowler, and it's basically just one of those monster cans you've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I think they're 32 ounces at their biggest right now.
So that's a growler.
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 Right. They're single use, unlike the glass growlers, so people don't have to worry about cleaning and whatnot. It's kind of been the hot thing for a lot of the breweries.
Yep.
But yeah, like Jesse was saying, the tasting room sales, that's kind of the first 3 years of the business. That's our primary model is we want people to come in, spend their afternoon, evening with us, get some local food trucks to occupy our parking lot, and just make it a place people want to hang out.
Yep.
We're other than that, I mean, bottling, canning, distributing kegs. That's distributing kegs is going to be part of the first few years. We want to get our beers on tap in Carroll County bars, Baltimore County bars, wherever people will put us. Yeah. Do festivals, but Maryland and Mid-Atlantic distribution, that's by year 5.
Got it.
So
very awesome. Cool. Awesome.
You got to finish up. We got to move on to the next one. Bottoms up.
I think I can manage that.
All right, you think you can manage it? All right. All right. So, what are we moving on to next?
I think it's milk stout, right?
It is. It was the Stone Table Stout. So the
Stone Table, are we thinking like Chronicles of Narnia?
Whoa! The man did it in one.
Nice.
No one told me that in advance. Okay.
Very good. Well done. So that one, the first time I brewed it as a home brewer when I was developing the recipe, it was middle of October about 6 years ago, and it started snowing. Like heavily in the middle of October, and for whatever reason that just kicked in my head, oh, Narnia. Now I know what I'm calling my beer.
Oh, that's that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's
I got some Narnia tattoos from Kiki Tattoo in Westminster.
I like that.
There we go.
We're got the 1980s Chronicles of Narnia collection on the bookshelf over there.
Amazing.
So we've we may have mentioned that we're nerds, and I don't know if it's come up. So,
I think it's really coming through.
Yeah,
so
good.
We're really
it can be subtle,
up and just putting down. We got
Nerds make good beer. That's all I can say.
Let's
try it.
It's made with cocoa nibs that are soaked in bourbon. So you got some bourbon, some chocolate.
This sounds really good.
And unlike
what's the alcohol
year,
content in
much
this one?
lower.
Okay.
We're at 4.5% for this.
I was actually hoping it was going to go a little higher.
No. We're not trying to kill you guys. We want you to like our beer, not like it so much that.
We want to be able to keep on drinking it.
Exactly.
So it looks a lot like a Guinness coming out.
Well, that's the nitro,
Yeah, I like that.
And much like a Guinness, you want to let it settle for a little bit to
beautiful.
let the nitro do its stuff.
It does look like a milkshake. You can give me as much of that as you want, just so you know.
We're not afraid.
It's pouring a little foamy today, guys. This nitro is
It's settling down.
picky system. So, Mike, you might have to give this a little longer to sit.
No problem. I can do that. Thank you.
Sorry for the extra foam. It's just more love.
I think out of all the episodes we've done so far, this is like the most extravagant, and interesting pouring experience.
And hands-on experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do one with somebody about tech, but you can't necessarily do all the tech.
Yeah, that's right.
There. This you can drink it.
We're seeing the magic here.
Absolutely.
Oh,
there's a lot of love in these beers.
It's my Stone Table Stout glass as well.
That's cool.
Wow. Laser etched glass for Christmas that I got. So
that's super cool.
Did you already taste it?
I haven't tasted it yet.
I'm hoping you were.
Polite.
I'm just making sure.
I gave it a sniff.
You're gonna have to wait a while for this little head to simmer down.
I do apologize about that. I
can
probably
I'm excited.
Tinker with the pressure valve a bit to make it pour a little more.
All right, so let's talk while we're waiting for these to settle. Let's talk about why do we have this head? Is this all
That's
nitro?
Strictly the nitro. Yeah,
Okay.
It makes a frothy, foamy head. So nitrogen is a much less water-soluble gas than CO2, and as a result, you get this really frothy, creamy head. It makes the bubbles are smaller, and there is CO2 in all nitrogenated beers. It's just a much lower level. So as a result, it feels almost like the traditional British ales that are naturally carbonated, which is just a much lower level of carbonation, not the the kind of bubbles you would get pouring a Bud or something like that.
Well, I was gonna ask if can you nitro like a Coors Light? Would you get the same head on it?
Mm-hmm. As long as you don't pre-carbonate it, yeah.
So what would happen if we nitroed a Coors Light? What do you think that would taste like?
Like a Coors Light with an odd texture. So it wouldn't do a ton of the flavor. Yeah. So we do our session IPA. We offer on either CO2 or nitro, depending on the event that we're doing, the number of taps. Also, our cream ale, which is one of our 5 year-round beers, is nitrogen only. Okay. Just because it just fits the style so well.
It's very smooth.
It's very smooth, very creamy. It's sort of our non-beer snob beer. It's our entry-level beer. So we want to make something that You know, if you're like, oh, I only drink Coors Light, I only drink Miller Lite, whatever. Like, well, this won't scare you away.
Yeah.
It's very easy to drink, not bitter. It's semi-sweet, just good lawn mowing beer.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the big hit in summer events that we've done, it's refreshing.
So while we're waiting a little longer for these to settle, we'll kind of kind of forecast what is what's coming. So after the new year, you're going to be taking the business plan out to get financing. Like what'll be like your first big thing in 2018? Like what's the date you've kind of forecast? Like man, we want to be up and running with our first beers and our tasters.
Well, the licensing process, which you're probably not going to learn from the other guys that are what everyone in Carroll County besides us has been around 6-7 years at least.
Yeah.
So the licensing process on a federal level is a minimum of 6 months.
Okay.
So you need a physical location with your drawings, with your gear, and everything like that. And you're basically paying rent for 6 months in a building you can't use.
Mm-hmm.
You can't brew. You can't
brew. You can't do. I mean, if you have like a multi-purpose room or something, you might be able to
rent it out.
Rent it out, but your primary square footage is just sitting.
Now, what's the rationale for that?
It's just how long there's only one agency in the entire country that does it. So it's the backlog.
Yeah, they're overworked, and I mean, there's not a lot of people doing that process, and a lot of people applying.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys that are running the applications, they probably have a pile that big on their desk.
Yep. And if you make a mistake in the process, you're right back to the ball.
Got it.
So get all your ducks in a row. Don't violate any procedures, codes, or laws. And when the inspector comes out, then they give you the stamp. You give that to the state. The state gives you the stamp. You go to the county, and then you can start. I mean, you can't even have beer in your fermenters or your kegs ready to pour the day you're licensed. That you can't brew until you're licensed.
Yep.
Got it. So best case scenario, we're like June.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the best scenario.
But the realistic scenario is probably October.
Okay.
Just nothing happens quickly, and doing things right takes time.
But while you're waiting, you can get the building ready, right? Because there's so many inspections you have to go through with the building, ADA issues and stuff. You can get all that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and that's all in the business plan.
And you can still advertise and draw a lot of it.
And
you can get the word out on yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're members of the Brewers Association of Maryland. They're absolutely great guys. We can't sing their praises enough. And they have events that let breweries in planning do tastings and get the word out. So we did in October. We did their big one in Canton in Baltimore, and they do. I believe it's 2 per year like that. Yep. So we might do. Well, we will do. Yes. We just don't know the date yet. We will be pouring beers at their. I think it's a March event.
Pouring beers and selling beers.
No, just serving.
You can't sell at all.
We can serve all day long under their umbrella.
Yeah,
and we are insured.
Right. Yeah, we're insured, and we've got an ounce limit that we're allowed to do for samples and stuff like that. But so we just follow their guidance. And
but Dave, while you're waiting for this licensing thing, you can still be giving your beers, right? Getting people to taste your beers. Can you do that?
Under the correct strictures, yes. So there are.
So to raise some awareness of what your beer is and how it tastes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Build that excitement so when you open,
it
people
depends
already know about you, or at least enough.
Yes. I guess the short answer is yes. We just have to make sure that whatever events we're doing, that the organizers understand our circumstances. We have event liquor liability coverage, so we're from a legal standpoint fine for giving beer away, but we've got those legal limits that we have to stay within. We can't give away 10 pints of beer and say, hey, give us a tip, whatever.
So here's a question, not necessarily for the show, but we do something called the Carroll Biz Challenge, which you guys should really apply for, and we always have alcohol for it. We buy beer and stuff like that. Are you licensed? Is it? Well, you aren't actually licensed.
Right.
Is it legal for us to pay you to come and serve your beer for free?
No.
Is it legal for you?
You can invite us to come.
Is it legal for you guys to come on your own and serve your beer for free?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we're within. Sorry, I look at my phone.
That's all right.
Sorry.
So there are ways that you can get yourselves recognized, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Which is a big thing.
More of the onus is on the event organizers than it is on us. A lot of people, when they hear, unlicensed brewery, they, tense up. They're like, okay, well, we don't know what that means. We don't.
Most of the folks that I know just like to drink beer. So
absolutely, those are my kind of people.
I think this whole dialogue is super useful because I think for a lot of people who have a dream of opening a brewery or distillery or a winery, it's like the big deal is like marketing, and I think
the two beers. I'm excited to taste this one in just a moment. I'm waiting for everybody to kind of settle this to such more. But just understand sort of the hurdle you have, because marketing is so important. Yep. Being able to get out in front of customers and get out in front, kind of establishing that brand is so important. But sort of the stranglehold that you have. I mean, taking 6 months to get to market is
it's hard. It's hard. It's a huge chunk of our operating budget for year one, and it's money that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe we'll be. I mean, some guys have been. Maybe we'll be fortunate enough to find a landlord that'll not charge us rent until we can start bringing money in. They're out there.
That's called like mom and dad usually.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Unfortunately, my mom and dad don't own warehouses anywhere that I'm going.
We've spoken with a lot of breweries that their landlords let them stay there until their license came in. Now they had certain like agreements, like if this doesn't go through,
right? If it takes a year, you gotta go.
Yeah, and then that when you leave, you have to make sure everything's up to code.
Yeah.
So there are landlords out there that have been willing to let a lot of these like really successful breweries stay there rent free.
Well, one of the interesting things about a brewery is because of the nature of the equipment and how much of a hassle it is to get everything set up. Once you're there, you're not leaving. I mean, how often do you see a brewery say, "Hey, we've moved"? It just, unless they've expanded drastically, that doesn't happen.
Sure.
And even when it does, I mean, look at like our, probably the biggest name in the East Coast, Dogfish Head. Their original Rehoboth pub is still operating today as a brew pub. They still brew on premise. They just bought that huge facility, 15 minutes away as their primary brewery. So even if you get your foot in the door in, a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot facility, when you grow out of that facility, you might not leave it. Mm-hmm. So landlords know that. They're sharp. And they know that, hey, maybe a little gamble in the first 6 months to a year on these guys. Yeah, and they're going to be my tenants for decades.
Well, guys, let's.
I think we're ready.
I think we're ready. Cheers!
Cheers!
Yeah,
cheers!
Final tasting here of the Stone Table Stout. That was worth the wait.
That might be my favorite.
Wow.
Good.
I'm a fan.
It's a good one.
It's of the three you've had, it's the oldest recipe. Actually, I think it's the oldest recipe of any of our beers that we pour.
This
one, I've had for about 6 years. So.
Wow. The cocoa coming through.
Yeah, it's raw cocoa soaked in bourbon, and it just brings out a nice chocolate flavor, and then that nitrogen helps keep it smooth.
Yep.
So listen, I have a question for you. Also considering the fact that at the Chamber we do the Carroll Biz Challenge, of which I really hope that you guys apply for this year. There are probably a lot of entrepreneurs that watch a show like this, Made in Carroll, and I think it's great that this is happening. What's the one bit of advice you might give to an entrepreneur, to a wannabe entrepreneur? What's the one bit of advice, one characteristic, one quality, one whatever that you might want to encourage any budding entrepreneurs out there with?
I've got one off the top of my head if you've got another that you want to give.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I would say get your idea, your product, whatever it is, in front of someone who has no obligation to tell you they like it.
That's a good point.
Honest
feedback.
Yeah, you need to be prepared to hear what you're doing wrong, and you need to be affirmed by someone who has no obligation to tell you you're doing something right, what you're doing right. And
like your friends might not say that beer really sucked.
Yeah.
Right.
Where somebody who didn't might tell you whatever recipe they had,
Exactly.
I got you.
And so as a home brewer, I got a lot of positive feedback from my beer, but it was from my nearest and dearest, so I don't know how to quantify that feedback. Yep. But, we made sure all 5 beers we had on tap for the Baltimore Craft Beer Festival, we had them all on untap.com, where people could check in and rate our beers, and we got overwhelmingly positive reviews from strangers. And that was the real, okay, these people owe us nothing.
That's good.
They're not afraid to hurt our feelings. If they hate it, they'll tell us, and they'll tell us in internet words, which as we all know are very harsh sometimes. We wound up with overwhelmingly positive reviews, which just kind of affirmed that, hey, we're on the right track.
Yep. We had people coming back and they said, man, let us know when you guys are open. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that day was pretty incredible for both of us.
Yeah, we were riding a high for most of that day.
I bet.
Well, I can tell you that, and this is, I'm someone that I guess I could give negative feedback on the show if I wanted to, but I want to say that these beers they're interesting, they're complex, they're special.
in that, you know, you're not just trying to mimic something. Like, these are truly unique beers, and I think that they've done well. Like, I would drink any one of these beers on the regular. So
I think
really tasty.
That's your job.
Well, I appreciate that. I think Jesse and this in mind. I mean, we mentioned balance as being one of our core principles. The other one, our litmus test, is would I go to the liquor store or the bar and buy this?
Yeah.
And if any one of our recipes doesn't match that litmus test, it gets pitched.
Yeah.
Or reworked.
course,
Because we don't want to sell you something we wouldn't buy. Because we're very passionate about what we do, and we take our reputation very seriously. And I mean, no one's gonna like everything we do. That's just, there's no beer drinker like that in the universe. You know, we have to try to serve as wide a market as we can.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even agree on some beers.
No, we don't. Like,
It's good.
But yeah, that's the nice thing about having a partner.
Where'd the name come from? Where does your name come from?
So,
well, I'll tell this one.
Yeah, that's all you.
So I had a rough day at work, and I was called in, or had to go in. I'm a supervisor, so it was just it was a Sunday. I wanted to spend it with my family, and went to work, came back, and I was texting Dave like, I can't wait for the brewery to open. He's like, oh, rough day. I'm like, yeah, it was a rough day, but like, it only fuels my brewery fire. Like,
Oh, I like that.
And we've been going back and forth. We must have pitched a couple dozen names to each other each, and none of them felt right.
That one feels good.
But it feels good, and at first, we were kind of like, did we just name our brewery after the worst thing that could happen to a brewery?
That's right.
So we're like, all right, we'll call our business Brewery Fire, and when we open a brewery, we'll change the name. Because the name's kind of weird, but the more we thought about it, the more we got reactions. Even the people that were like, why would you name your brewery after a brewery fire? Like, well, now you remember my name.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
that's a good one.
Like, you might think, oh, that name's stupid, but you remember it.
Yeah.
So,
everything we do has a story behind it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kind of wrap this up. I mean, the only reason you guys are on the show is that we put out an ad we had a photo on Facebook. We recorded our promo video for our Kickstarter, and it had a bottle or a growler from every single commercial maker of beer, wine, or spirits in Carroll. And we asked the question, like, who are we missing? And like almost immediately I saw, have you talked to Brewery Fire? And
hey, that's awesome.
So you guys,
cheers to whoever said that.
Yeah,
to Jason.
It was right to them.
Cheers to you.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, okay.
Robin Hoke. So to Robin Hoke.
To Robin Hoke.
Thank you.
I'm enjoying the beer, and it's because of you.
This has been a treat. And so as we close every episode, I just want to thank you guys sincerely for making something awesome right here in Carroll County, Maryland.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. We love it. Cheers. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to the Made in Carroll show. This episode was hosted by me, Jason Stambaugh, and Mike McMullin. The audio, the video, really everything you've experienced in this episode was produced by 127 Creative. As you can see, they really can create and communicate everything. You can learn more about the Made in Carroll show by visiting us online at www.madeincarroll.com. You can find our videos on Facebook and YouTube and listen to our podcast anywhere where podcasts are found. Thank you once again to All Smiles Dental Care and the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring today's episode. And finally, thank you to all of the backers of our Season 2 Kickstarter campaign. You all know who you are. We're grateful for your support and for helping us make something awesome right here in Carroll County, Maryland.